Welcome back to Building the Pride. I'm your host, Drew. And normally I would introduce my co host, Mike, but just as a reminder, Mike's very busy in the month of December, and we're hoping to get him back for January. And we'll be bringing you the show Thursdays at noon for the foreseeable future, and Mike will join as he is available. Boy, the camera looks pretty good today. Or is that just me? Who can say? I hate how my glasses reflect the light to make me look like some kind of evil anime character. So let's make a banner. Trying to learn how to do this stuff without Mike. Detroit 9. Ugh. Philadelphia 16. There we go. So I have a lot to say, unfortunately, about this game. And let's just kind of start off on a positive note here. The Detroit Lions are 6-4, and if the playoffs started today, they would have the final spot in the NFC playoff standings per Tankathon. So there's no reason to panic, but lots of fans are panicking. And they're panicking because not because Detroit doesn't have a winning record. They're panicking because Detroit doesn't look like the Detroit that has had success in previous seasons or even earlier this season. Nice water. So let's talk about why the Lions aren't having success. First of all, let's talk about the defense. The defense is good. The defense is better than the offense currently in Detroit. We've been waiting for the defense to be good, and now they are. And I think one of the reasons why they're good is that Kelvin Shepard is a good defensive coordinator. Aiden Hutchinson is a good pass rusher, if unfortunately a terrible tackler. And they have a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball, right? So I was looking over Brad Holmes' draft class over the last, I think it's 5. He's done 5 classes now, and I was looking at them and I was like, in 2022, like he took Campbell and Branch. Those are 2 good players, if not great players, on multiple levels of the defense. Aiden Hutchinson is a great player on the defensive line. So they have great to elite players at every level of their defense, right? And a lot of national media is saying that Jack Campbell could be an all-pro this year. So if that is the case, Hutchinson would have been an all-pro. I believe that Branch has been an all-pro. Joseph has been an all-pro, right? Campbell, if he gets added to that group, would be yet another defensive all-pro that Brad Holmes has added to this team. Aleem McNeil is getting back, and I believe played better in this game than he had played in any previous game. We went with a little bit different lineup this week, where Tyleik Williams was playing defensive end, and they went with a lineup of DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil, Aiden Hutchinson, and Tyleik Williams. And those are your 4 best defensive linemen. And it's effectively 3 defensive tackles and Aiden Hutchinson. And the whole point was to try and shut down the running game of the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's the problem with shutting down the running game of the Philadelphia Eagles is that the Philadelphia Eagles were better at throwing the ball than the Detroit Lions. Both teams effectively shut down the running games of the opposing teams. And the issue with that was Detroit is less able to throw the ball in a one-dimensional offense than Philadelphia is. The reason, in my opinion, that Detroit is less able to do that is because Jared Goff is limited athletically and cannot do the same kinds of things to outside of structure that Jalen Hurts can do. Jalen Hurts is not a world-beating quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, but he is more athletic. And like when he turns a sack into a 4-yard gain, or he picks up a first down with his legs, or he's able to get out of the pocket and make an interception, or not an interception, an incompletion, where he just throws the ball out of bounds. Like those plays take something that was potentially awful and mitigates the fallout and consequence of what those plays could have been. And Jared Goff cannot do that. The wind was blowing. We saw a missed extra point. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And Jared Goff's ball placement in this game was not very good. One could say really, really bad. And I think that, unfortunately, we are seeing people like Amon-Ra St. Brown now being questioned because he's not catching the ball as effectively. So I want to take a look at some of I was hoping that they would give me some more of his stats. But like Amon-Ra St. Brown this year has got 557 yards. It doesn't tell me his number of targets. Let's see. He's playing. I mean, technically, he's playing at the second worst level of his career, except that he's still an 85 offensive grade from PFF, which is elite. I mean, it's excellent. So I'm gonna try and look up his larger stats to see what PFF has him listed at for drops, because he's starting to garner. Why is the internet like this? He's starting to garner criticism for not being able to catch the ball. And like, I don't believe that it's justified, because I don't think that Goff is giving him much of a chance to catch the ball. Like, the ball placement was very, very poor. Where are his drops? Oh. He has 3 drops this year for a drop percentage of 4.3%. So let's see. Let's compare that to his other seasons. He has a drop rate of 1.6 in 2024, 3.4, 3.6, 2.2. So he has the highest quote-unquote drop rate in his career so far through, what is this, week 11 we're going into, week 12? And he has 3 drops. And when I watched the Eagles game, and let's just see if he even had a drop in that game. No. So he had drops against, let's see, who was it? Washington, Minnesota, and Kansas City. So I think that people are mad that he's not catching the ball, but I think that the anger is misplaced, because he is a 5'11" wide receiver. Well, he doesn't look 6'1" to me when he's out on the field. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm 5'10", but he certainly looks smaller than almost everybody else on the football field. And when I'm watching the Eagles game, I understand that Jared Goff has to try and put the ball on certain routes and certain areas of the field, in areas that don't look like it's an accurate pass. Like, oh, you have to put that ball down and away from the wide receiver so that he doesn't get destroyed, by a safety coming across the field looking to take his head off, right? So you got to put the ball where only your guy can get it. Okay, I'm willing to concede that happens. That's a very real thing in the NFL. That didn't look like what was going on Sunday. So as we've kind of covered so far, I think that anybody that watched the Lions game can safely say Lions didn't run the ball effectively. And I think the wind was a factor with ball placement for Jared Goff, who I believe already has difficulty throwing a catchable ball all the time. So let's see if we can take a look at what do we want to look at here first. Let's take a look at some PFF grades. Everybody loves PFF. Everybody adores. Oh, I immediately lost all my viewers as soon as I said, let's take a look at PFF stuff. All dose of them. That's fine. We will just keep going. And then we will add this to the stage. And then we will make it larger, since I always used to yell at Michael about that. Michael. Okay. Wow, it's so big. Okay. So we start right off. The top player on the team was Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm sorry, David Montgomery. 73 grade, not great. Pretty good running the ball. Not a good pass blocker. I would be surprised. I mean, maybe at the end of the season, something that we take a look at is how well the Lions running backs pass blocked. And then I think that's another point that Jared Goff cannot make up for is if you have two backs who are good at running the ball and catching the ball, and they're not so good at picking up linebackers or whatever in pass blocking, don't ask them to do that. Seems weird. I know, right? Don't ask them to pass block. Now, I know that, I mean, they're going to have to pass block in certain scenarios, but like, if you are putting a guy back to pass block for Jared Goff and it's not making a difference, why are you doing it at all? Like, give him another option to get rid of the ball. Okay, so right behind David Montgomery is Jahmyr Gibbs. 71 grade, excellent in the passing game, really good. He was good at pass blocking in this game. I don't know how many pass blocking snaps. He had 2 pass blocking snaps. So that was played well there. J-Mo had another good game. Amon-Ra St. Brown had another good game. So here's all of our playmakers, right? Our skill position guys. Taylor Decker, Penei Sewell held up pretty well against the defensive front of the Eagles. Not great. Certainly lower scores than we're accustomed to seeing certainly from Penei Sewell. Tristan Colon is probably a name that you guys should get used to seeing. He is he's listed as a guard. He might be the center next season. I don't know. 6'4", 313. He's been in the league for 5 years. He's been a practice squad guy for us. Here's not a good thing. When you're looking at PFF grades and you start to see like this huge chunk of 60s, that just means that a bunch of people got into the game, you know? So Stewart, Nowatzki, Vaki, Lovett, Meeks, Hatton, Sailors, Derek Barnes. Why does he have one? Oh, this is offense. Oh, there must have been a turnover. You know, that kind of stuff. There's huge chunks. So here we go. Here's the downside. So Graham Glasgow. Everyone seems to hate Graham Glasgow. He's playing at about the level that you would expect a replacement level offensive lineman to play at. What else has he ever been? I mean, has he really been? I don't know. I would say that's pretty normal for Graham Glasgow at this point. Not that it's good. Isaac Tesla, 20 snaps. Okay, here's what I don't understand. If Khalif Raymond is playing as well as Isaac Tesla and it's this bad, why not give the 17 additional snaps to the rookie to help him develop? Brock Wright, certainly no Sam Laporta. Coyote Iwashika had a tough time against the interior of the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. Dan Skipper, Jared Goff, not a shock to see Jared Goff down here, and Tate Ratledge, who got hurt and then probably because of the injury was limited a little bit, and he kind of got also beat up on by the interior of Philadelphia's defensive line. So Iwashika and Ratledge, Glasgow, kind of got eaten up by the defensive tackles of the Philadelphia Eagles. And then, Sewell and Decker didn't play much better. And it's been this ongoing conversation in Detroit about how bad is the interior of the offensive line. I don't really know that they're that bad. Like, they didn't play well today. Iwashika is a backup. Graham Glasgow is likely like a versatile backup, and Tate Ratledge is a rookie. Christian Mahogany is hurt. I don't know what. Hurt people don't play very well, from everything I understand about sports. And Frank Ragnow retired at a terrible point in the offseason, and Kevin Zeitler wanted to go be with his family in Tennessee, so he did. And we only had Kevin Zeitler for one season. And we had Frank Ragnow, who a lot of people really care about and love. And he's probably a Hall of Fame center, and you're not going to get Frank Ragnow level of play from almost anybody that you end up as your long-term starter, whether it's this season or the next season or the next 5 seasons. Like, no one's going to be Frank Ragnow. So there are a couple of options, but that's once the season is over for the center position for the Detroit Lions. And I think one of them is, does Buffalo Bill Connor McGovern end up hitting free agency? If that's the case, I think that you could look to sign him. And then there's 2 possibilities to trade for a starting center that's better than Graham Glasgow. Can you get Eric McCoy from the New Orleans Saints? Could you offer up a 3rd or 4th round pick for Eric McCoy if New Orleans eats a lot of the money on his deal? Could you offer a pick to the Raiders for Jackson Powers Johnson if you wanted, depending on what the Lions draft profile said about Jackson Powers Johnson, what their scouting department says about him? Like, those are 3 options that I think would vastly improve the Detroit Lions center position for the 2026 season, because it is not good right now, right? And so this is the problem. But, like, here's the other problem, and it's right back up here at the very top line. 6. You gave the ball to David Montgomery on 6 running plays in this game, including. So, like, here's the thing I don't understand. The Lions were very bad on 4th down in this game, 0 for 5. They were also very bad on 3rd down. I think they were like 3 for 11, 3 for. I'll look it up in a second. But they were horrible and couldn't convert. And including one of these was a 4th down and 1 that they gave the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs, who ran right up the middle. Okay, like it so far. Except that when he got hit by a Philly defender, he went backwards and straight to the ground. And they didn't convert. Like, if you're going to run the ball up the middle on 4th and 1, you might be telegraphing it by putting Derek Montgomery in the game. But Philadelphia is selling out against 4th and 1 up the middle, regardless of who is running the ball. Like, that is the first thing that defense is going to look at and say, well, we got to protect the edges. Nope. Like, they're clearly attacking the center of the field straight forward. So and like, I think David Montgomery is better suited to 4th and 1 from any point in the field than Jahmyr Gibbs is. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs was excellent turning checkdowns into big gains, explosive plays in this game. and was kind of the saving grace of the Detroit Lions passing offense. Goff couldn't hit St. Brown. Jameson Williams had a good day, right up until he decided to jump up on the goalpost and give it a hug like a returning soldier from a war when he meets his family at the airport. But like, that penalty pushed the ball back on the extra point attempt, and with the winds exacerbating the way that Jake Bates wants to kick the ball, I think it's left to right, he pushed it right. And he later made, like, I believe a 54-yarder, which was pretty much a straight shot, which is good. I'm glad that he made it. Didn't matter, but I mean, I'm glad that he made it. But like, that's a penalty that didn't need to be made, that is once again completely in control of the Detroit Lions, that was made, and that one not led to the loss of 1 point off the scoreboard. You know, and like, if it's 7-6, you know, or what have you, like, it doesn't necessarily change the way the game is played. But like, you know, Detroit, let's look at it this way. Detroit, if it was 10-16 and Detroit goes down and scores a touchdown and gets the ball back, you know, inside of 2 minutes or whatever, they win the game as opposed to lose it. And that's the point I'm trying to make here, is that you don't give things back. And the Lions seem like the biggest problem. One of the biggest problems I see with this team this year is they are giving back points on the margin. Like, this is not grit or disciplined football that I am seeing from the Lions. You know, St. Brown and Branch have each thrown punches. Jameson Williams continues to do like this kind of like exuberant celebratory stuff. And, you know, and like, I think that they're using him better under Campbell than they were under Morton, but like, he also throws in these plays that don't need to be made. If I was Dan Campbell, I would, like, at this point, I would say, if we're not winning on the scoreboard, I don't want anyone signaling first down. I don't want anybody doing pre-planned celebratory touchdown dances as a team and that kind of stuff. Like, you've lost the privilege to do that because you're not playing well. You're not playing discipline. You're not exhibiting grit. You're being a bunch of knuckleheads. I mean, as far as I can tell. Let's take a look at the defense here just real quick before we finish this out. All right, Trevor Nowatzki, 4 snaps, all in run defense. Did a really good job. Campbell right here at the top. Brian Branch right here at the top. Rocky Sin played a really good game for the most part. Aiden Hutchinson has now had 2 games where I would say he hasn't had the kind of impact that we're used to seeing from him. He had 5 pressures and a sack. TJ Reader, Tyleik Williams, a lot of guys here on the defensive line, you know, on the top of the list. And let's see, even a couple defensive backs. Let's take a look at some of the poorer performing. So Derek Barnes, I don't really see what, you know, just didn't have a very good game across the board. Amik Robertson now has had multiple games where he's been at the bottom of the rankings here. Tyrus Wheat, Al-Qadim Muhammad, Tyler Lacey, Alex Anzalone, Aleem McNeil's starting to get there. But here's the problem with Aleem McNeil: is this 25, that's tackling. Like, he's just not tackling well. You know who's not tackling well? The entirety of the defensive line. So Aiden Hutchinson has finally had a relatively decent game tackling. DJ Reader, nope. Tyleik Williams, nope. Aleem McNeil, nope. Like, what are they doing? What are they doing if they're not getting rid of their block? If you're getting rid of your blocker and not tackling well, what do you do? I don't understand what's going on. So there's that. Now, some good news. It looks like DJ Reed is going to be back for the Lions as early as the Giants game. So let's take a look at Pride of Detroit to see if we've got an update here. Injury report. Lions hopefuls cornerback DJ Reed returns from injured reserve versus the Giants. So it's sounding more and more likely that the Detroit Lions will have their number one cornerback returning for this week's game against the Giants. Lions coach Dan Campbell noted that he was optimistic Reed could be ready to play. I'm hopeful, but I think it's going to be determined by tomorrow, so that would be today. Like these full-speed practices tomorrow and then Friday. He looked pretty good last week, so we'll see. Reed's been on the injured reserve since suffering a serious-looking hamstring injury in Week 4 against the Cleveland Browns. Thankfully, the injury didn't require surgery. He returned to practice last week. He told the media shortly thereafter that he was feeling ready to play. Let's see. With Reed near a return and Terry and Arnold making some progress through the concussion protocol, the Lions may soon have their cornerback room fully intact. In the meantime, they've gotten very strong play from reserves Rockison and Amik Robertson. Campbell made sure to credit those players for stepping up and noting that Robertson's role will not go away completely when Reed and Arnold return, which to me says that he's going to be splitting time with Terry and Arnold. And okay, that's fine. Terry and Arnold hasn't been awesome this stretch for the Detroit Lions, but I think it is. I think Terry and Arnold has been. I think that he's a second-year player, and I'm going to look him up here just to kind of confirm or deny one of the suspicions that I'm having. So far this season, he has played in 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 games. He has been flagged 6 times. All right. So once a game on average. All right. So let's just take a look at DJ Reed. He's played 4 games. He has been penalized once. So once in 4 games. So that's pretty good. Let's look at Branch. Brian Branch. I'm betting that's right around. So Brian's played in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. He has been penalized 7 times. So more than Terry and Arnold. Now more games, not as frequently, but has been penalized more. And then I don't think that Kirby Joseph gets many penalties at all. He's also not played very much. Kirby Joseph's played in 6 games. He's been penalized. Where do they go? Once. So the players on the team that get penalized the least are Kirby Joseph and DJ Reed. And then the players that get penalized the most are Brian Branch and Terry and Arnold. And they get penalized at about the same rate. So if you're going to give up on Terry and Arnold because he, quote unquote, commits a lot of penalties, then you should give up on Brian Branch too, because they do the same things. Right? So let's take a look at it. And Amik Robertson. Everyone loves Amik because he, quote unquote, plays so hard. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10 games. Good. Getting 10 games out of a Detroit Lion. Not that easy. He's been penalized 3 times. So he's right there with like DJ Reed and Kirby Joseph, right? So the other thing that I think should be said about the way the Lions are playing is that last season they had, quote unquote, all those injuries. And there was really hard to weather. They didn't have the kind of depth that they, I think, are having now. And like, I think that they're not getting credit for their depth because we're used to not seeing Kirby Joseph out there. We're used to seeing, Terry and Arnold miss a game. DJ Reed hasn't played in 6 weeks. That kind of thing. So now the guys that have been playing are commonplace. And it's like, oh, I have to remind myself that those are backups. Amik Robertson is a backup. Rocky Sin is a backup. Thomas Harper is a backup, So I think that's a real problem for the Detroit Lions, is that they're still having injury issues. Their depth, I think, is pretty good because I think most of those backups play like starters, or pretty decent starters, players that could start for other NFL franchises, right? The problem is not the defense. The problem is the offense. So, whether Christian Mahogany and Tate Ratledge are good, they're rookies, and Graham Glasgow is just not a high-level player and never has been. And so it is effectively like you have three backups on your offensive line. Sam Laporte is out. Brock Wright did not have a good game this last week against Philly. That's four backups on the offensive side of the ball. And, Decker and Sewell are both very clearly working through injuries as well. And I think that their play has degraded because of it. So, and the problem with every game starts 0-0, right? So if every team in the NFL played immaculate defense, we never have any winners, right? So you need good offense in order to win football games. That's not a surprise, right? Offense wins games, defense wins championships. That's what they're saying, the classic saying. So let's focus on the offense wins games part of it. Is that the Detroit Lions offense is not good right now. They're struggling with getting in good down and distance, which I think is absolutely essential for Jared Goff. And they have suffered injuries on the offensive side of the ball this year, and the injuries on the offensive side of the ball are more difficult to overcome than the injuries on the defensive side of the ball. And because of it, the injuries on the offensive side of the ball are therefore more impactful. And when you don't have a quarterback that can make up the difference for anything, these injuries become a plague, on your season, and it doesn't take many of them. So the other thing that we should talk about is Dan Campbell's aggressiveness. And I have this to say about the fourth down calls. I may not have agreed with all of the calls to go for it on fourth down in every single spot, but you have to understand that Dan Campbell is who he is. And so if you are mad that you're not mad that he went for it on fourth down, you're mad that they were unsuccessful going for it on fourth down. If the Lions go for it 5 times next week and they convert 3 of them, Dan Campbell's a genius. He's a villain because they were unsuccessful, right? That's the only difference. But he's going to go for it on fourth down regardless, The fake punt is something I'm never going to excuse. I think that these kinds of trick plays are just childish nonsense that is largely done and can certainly fall under that's just too cute. The Lions are just getting too cute for a lot of these plays, and they're trying to make up the difference because they're not being successful, and they're not and they're low percentage plays, so they're not successful at those either. It doesn't look good. Now people are talking about you need to fire Dave Phipp, the special teams coordinator. No, you don't. I think that the Lions special teams are all in all pretty good. And I think that you only bring more, discontinuity when you decide to let go of coaches. So anyways, that's my take on it. So what are the Lions going to do to fix this? So I've heard a lot of people say Miles Frazier is coming off of injury. You should put him in as a starter over Avo Shika. You should have Tristan Colon be the starting center. And you can do those things. That's fine. I don't think that it's going to help at all. Like, one of the biggest things to like successful offensive line play is continuity between the starters, the people that are out there, and like I don't see how, quote unquote, switching it up to switch it up is not going to help with the continuity. It's going to create a new group that needs their own continuity, and you're not going to get that without a lot of snaps, reps. So I don't like that idea as a way to fix the offensive line. Here's what I would do. I would just make the offense more simple. The Lions, like Tate Ratledge, Graham Glasgow, are better run blockers than they are pass blockers. So run the ball. Run the ball, even if it's close. Run the ball. If you're behind, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And make David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs just earn every cent of it. Brock Wright is more of a run blocker than he is a pass catcher. Let's use him like that. You want to put Dan Skipper on the field as like a second tight end and just have a 6-man O-line? Good, let's do it. Let's match up our gigantic, enormous humans against your gigantic, enormous humans, and we'll see who comes out on top. Because I'll bet on my line and my running backs more than I will your defensive line and your linebackers every day of the week. So I would be trying to win games like 17, like 21-20 at this point, as opposed to like 35 to whatever, less than 35. But the Lions seem to be a team that not only wants to win, they want to win in like, quote unquote, fancy is the best word I can come up for it. Like, we're going to run this fake punt. We're going to run all these trick plays. We're going to put our speedy running back in situations where a power back needs to be in there. We're going to do it because I don't know what the reasons are. Like, I'm just watching the football game like everybody else, and I'm just like scratching my head at why Jahmyr Gibbs gets the ball on the 4th and 1, in the middle of the field. And like, in a game that was largely determined by field position, like the Lions just gave the Eagles very good field position time after time after time. And you have a great punter in Jack Fox, who you have paid good money to be a punter, and you don't use him. So like, I don't care if it's 5 attempts on 4th down or 2 attempts on 4th down. Like, you could have changed 3 of those drives for the Eagles by a net of something like 35 yards and made them do that, and like had them eat up the time to go the extra 35 yards 3 times. Like, maybe that's one play, or maybe it's like 9 plays. I don't know. So like, I just think that when Detroit cannot come from behind and win. They have so rarely done it. I think that I was always calling the St. Louis Rams, the Los Angeles Rams game at the beginning of last season was one of the few times I can remember the Lions like being able to like claw their way back into a game and eventually win it. They're a team that needs to get out in front and then play from the lead, right? And so it's frustrating to watch a team with so much talent not being able to like all pull in the same direction. So, but I mean, I don't know what it is. Like, to me, these kind of things don't get fixed in the season. They get fixed in the off season. Like, these kinds of problems. And right now, I would say the Lions are like fighting for the last wild card spot in the NFC. And they're going to have to go and play on the road, probably against the number 2 team in the NFC. So let's take a look at that. Let's just take a look at the playoff picture right now in the NFL, and we'll see if playoff machine, ESPN. Let's share. All right. So let's see if I can figure out how to use this thing. Let's go. Oh, this is where you have to pick all the winners. Is there like a projection? Projected rankings, standings, and playoff seeds update automatically based on your picks. Oh, so right now the Lions. Okay, according to this, the Lions are not in the playoffs. So it would be Philly, and then San Francisco versus LA, Green Bay versus Chicago. That's interesting. Seattle at Tampa. That's some weird stuff. So let's. Oh, I see what you got to do. So I think we'll do the rest of the season. This is 3, 6, 7 weeks. That's a lot. Okay, so I think that Jacksonville will win that one. Let's say Indy wins that game. Cleveland wins that. Ooh. Chicago, New Orleans. The Patriots, who are good again all of a sudden. Eagles win that one. Ravens win that one. LA wins that one. Seattle wins that game. San Francisco, Green Bay, Detroit. Nothing changes. Okay. So then week 13. Lions have to win that game. I think that's starting to become a must win. I'm going to say the Jets win this one. Kansas City wins. LA wins. Ravens win. Bucks. Stop it. Bucks win. Eagles win. Seahawks. I've been watching the Seahawks play this season, like on NFL. Plus, they are a fun watch. If you guys like to just watch fun football, watch the Seahawks games this season. San Francisco, the Chargers, Buffalo, Indy, Denver, Miami, New England. So now the Lions have made the play. So if the Lions win in the next 2 weeks, they make the playoffs, and then they have to play the 49ers, which of all the teams other than maybe the Bucks and the Bears, that's the team that I'd want to play. So you got to beat the Cowboys. Seattle wins that game. Miami probably beats the Jets. Denver wins. Baltimore wins. LA wins. Tampa Bay. Buffalo. That's going to be. This is a crazy rivalry, by the way. Colts Jags. Like, it's gone so back and forth over the years that it's just kind of crazy. I can't see them winning. I'm going to have Tennessee beat the Browns in a game that means nothing. Okay, 15. Bucks, Eagles, Bills. I'm going to say Seattle wins that game. Ravens win the. Ooh, this is a great game. Denver versus Green Bay. Yikes. I'm going to say Denver wins that one. Jags, Niners, Chiefs, Panthers, Houston. I don't know that Detroit can beat the Rams much right now, but let's say the Rams win that one. Bears, probably the Vikings can beat the Cowboys. I'm going to say the Giants win that game, and then so let's see. Ooh, this is great. Let's say the Rams win, Vikings win, Eagles win. Ooh, this could be a really interesting game. Bucks, Panthers. Nobody's watching the channel. Packers are going to beat the Bears. Denver's going to win that game. Say New Orleans beats the Jets. Say Falcons beat the Cardinals. Bills. Texans. Lions are going to win this one. Kansas City. Ooh. I'm going to say the Patriots beat the Ravens, and that pains me. Okay, so that's Dallas, Pittsburgh, Detroit, New England, Denver, New Orleans, New York. I'll give this one to the Jags. I'll give that one to the Texans. Bucks, Seahawks. Ooh, Bills. Ooh. Give that to the Packers because it's at home. San Francisco. Burrow's probably back, and the Rams. And then we go Rams, Cowboys, Broncos, Bengals, Chiefs, Lions, Philly, Bills, Ravens, Packers, Seahawks, Bucks, Colts, Jags. So I've got the Lions over the next 7 weeks going 6-1, 5-1, something like this. And they're probably going to have to do that in order to make the playoffs at all. So they would be a 3 seed. So if I went back to, so I think the Lions can drop 2 games the rest of the season and make the playoffs. What would need to happen then is, let's see, the Rams are probably locking up their division, and there's no San Francisco. San Francisco would need to lose some more games. I think Seattle is probably going to. Well, that's 3 teams from the West, huh? And then Tampa Bay is in a division by themselves. And then 2 from the North. Yeah, I don't really know. That seems like a pretty tough road to hoe. All right. And since I don't have anybody in chat, I'm going to do a 7-round Lions mock. Okay. To kind of give you an idea of like some of the stuff that I'm talking about. So we'll enter the draft here. So there is a couple of players that I am willing to trade up for. Arvell Reese from Ohio State, Ruben Bain from Miami. That's about it. So we're going to see where they go. Ruben Bain's off the board. Reese is off the board. Pass rusher, pass rusher, pass rusher. Caleb Banks. Okay. Oh, look at the Panthers. Okay, so there's a couple of options right here that we should. Oh, I should probably share my screen. There are a couple of options right here that I think should be discussed. And the Lions, the for whatever reason, the people at PFF feel that center, okay, is a need. Understood. Tackle, not really. No, I don't know why we're doing that. Defensive line, what does that mean? To me, that has always meant interior defensive line. I don't know why you would think that. And corner, also, I don't know why they would think that. So here's my best guess. Taylor Decker retires. DJ Reader leaves in free agency. Amik Robertson leaves in free agency. Kirby Joseph is under contract. Brian Branch is under contract and going to get an extension. DJ Reed is under contract. Terrion Arnold is under contract. You have a backup in Ennis Rakestraw. He's hurt, but he's a backup. So who are we talking about? Are we talking Rock Ya-Sin, Avonte Maddox, Thomas Harper, Amik Robertson? Because of all those guys, Amik Robertson's the only guy I think that's probably, quote unquote, on the Lions' radar to resign. And I don't know that I would resign him. We can talk about that more at some point in the future. So there are some guys that I think that the Lions should be open to. So this guy Ole Vega Ione. I don't know if that's exactly how you pronounce his name. People have been shortening this to Vega Ione, so that's that. Great big guy from Penn State, right? Penn State's having a very bad year, unfortunately. Still a lot of good players on that team. 6'4", 328. So he fits the model of what Detroit wants, and height, weight, speed. Densely built guard prospect who does a lot of things well when projected to go a downhill man or gap run blocking scheme. That's Lions do that. Along with football, he grew up playing rugby and basketball. Multi-sport people are usually better equipped to adapting to sports leagues, giving him an intriguing multi-sport background. He has a low, wide, powerful pre-snap stance, which gives him a good first step for reach blocks and power when blocking downhill. He does a good job of hand fighting with coordination and balance to reposition pass protection. His wide base helps him neutralize some pass rush moves, but he can struggle with lateral movements, which is when outside zone run blocking and facing cross face pass rush moves. So stunts. He's not good against stunts. So if we look at his things, pass block grade 88.9. That's really good. Run block 71. That is good. Equal in zapping gap and zone, and he has a true pass set blocking grade of 92. So who do you play well against? Florida International, the powerhouse. UCLA, not very good. Played pretty well against Ohio State. That's good. Did not play well at Michigan State for some reason, at Northwestern, who has a pretty decent offensive front or a defensive line front, and Oregon. All right. Not bad. He has played left guard. So if this guy's on the board, you can just take him and plug him into left guard. I thought he was a right guard his whole career. But now that he's played left guard, like, if you want to take this guy and have two young guards in Ratledge and Vega on the interior, you can't complain that the Lions have not addressed the issue, right? You could also take this guy, Spencer Fano. Tackle. Drew, why would you take a tackle? Because I don't know what's going to happen with Taylor Decker. 6'6", 308. He's a little bit light. Taylor Decker is like in the 330s. Fano is a bit light on the scale for an offensive lineman, but you won't find many other drawbacks in a scouting report. He plays great pad level and flexibility for excellent leg drive and impactful run blocking results in any blocking scheme. His arm length appears adequate to play tackle with vice grip, hand strength, and a patient pass blocking style. He's scheme versatile, starting caliber offensive lineman with all-pro potential. But he plays right tackle. So can you convert this guy to a left tackle for Decker? You're not going to move Penei Sewell at this point, I don't think. So if you can flip Fano from right to left, that is a consideration. Avian Terrell, first look, 5'11", 180. So he's Amik Robertson sized. He has a brother who plays for the Falcons. Even as a true sophomore, he showed high football IQ with some great cornerback instincts that manifested in good ball production with interceptions and forcing completions. He's also recorded very good run defense and pass rush grades over the last 2 years, despite his small frame. His weight profile is below the 10th percentile for the pros, and his arm length could be a limiting factor for press, which the Lions love to play. But as an off-zone coverage defender, he is smart, sound, calculated, and impactful in all areas of the position. Lions don't play much zone. So I don't think that he's a candidate for what the Lions want to do schematically. And so that leaves, this is the next cornerback on the board. We don't have any write-up for him, but if we look at coverage grade, good, run defense, not as good, better at man than zone. Maybe this guy, he's 6'1", 195, so it's a little bit big for a corner. Maybe you could take a look at him as like just another person to put in the Lions secondary, and yet here we're talking about adding a first-round cornerback. You have DJ Reader, Terry and Arnold will be going into year 3. You're talking about adding a first-round corner. If you're not getting an absolute for sure lockdown corner, I wouldn't do this in the first round. Like, there's got to be somewhere else that you can address what this team needs. So there are several players that I like. They're just not, I don't think, should be drafted here. So this guy, Sonny Styles, if Alex Anzalone leaves, this guy could very well be a replacement. 6'5", 243, so he's big. Styles looks the part of an NFL linebacker with an imposing frame, even as a converted defensive back. He has improved his run-stopping ability, thanks in part to his long wingspan to wrap up ball carriers. One of the things the Lions value but are not very good at this year is tackling. As a former safety, he's fluid and moves well when dropping in coverage. That would be excellent. The linebacker instincts are still a work in progress, but there's a good baseline for improvement to be made that offers him a mid-round projection heading into 2025. One thing that our defensive coordinator knows is linebacker play, having been a former linebacker himself. So run defense, good. Coverage grade, good. Pass rush grade, not good. I don't care about that. Who did he play well against? Ohio, great. He just played well against Illinois, Wisconsin, Penn State, and Purdue. All these teams, by the way, are basically trash. Illinois is the best of all of them. But I mean, like, he didn't play well against Texas, but that was the first game of the year. Didn't play particularly well against Washington. Washington's a good team. But, I mean, Ohio State just has – I mean, Penn State was supposed to be, like, one of the tougher games on their schedule, and they just are not good this year. So, like, Ohio State has played nobody. I mean, they played Texas. And everybody on this schedule for Ohio State has had a bad year. So, I mean, that's not Ohio State's fault, but they're not good. Like, their competition is just not level. So what do you do if you're Detroit? You know, like, you could trade down. Can we trade down 2 picks and pick up? We don't have a 3rd round pick. Can I get and pick 67? No. Can I get pick 103? Can I get a 4th round pick? All right. They took Styles and then Sadiq. So now I'm going to take the guard. I'm just going to take this guy. So remember, the Lions do not have a 3rd round pick this year because they traded all 3 of their 3rd round picks for Isaac Sasla last year. There are a couple of players that I have my eye on that are starting to become pass rush crush or prospect crutches. These are 2 of them. So Gabe Jackson, 6'3", 270. He's a wrestling background as a defensive, not a run stuffer, apparently, you know, like, which is a little bit disconcerting because you want him as an edge setter across from Aiden Hutchinson. But maybe we should move away from that idea, you know. Oh, Gabe Jackus? Chasis? I don't know. So, good win rate. Got 7 sacks on the year, 16 pressures. Plays outside the tackles. Like, that's somebody the Lions should probably consider. Here's a potential left tackle candidate. He's only a junior, but 6'5", 325. That's height, weight, speed that you want. He's only given up 1 hit, hasn't given up a sack. Good pass rush, pass blocking grade, good run blocking grade. You know, he plays left tackle. So, I mean, like, if he declares, like, I would have him be on the list as a potential replacement for Decker. Anthony Hill is a guy that I think is having a down year this year. But if Anzalone leaves, like, here's a guy that might be an eventual Alex Anzalone replacement. Here's a guy, AJ Halsey. Coverage grade, really good. Run defense grade, average. Some of the stuff, 6 foot, 222. So he's relatively good size for a safety, you know. And here's what I would do. I would move Brian Branch to full-time nickel and put him up around the line of scrimmage, cover a tight end, cover running backs out of the backfield, blow shit up, blitz him every once in a while, you know? Like, I think that moving Brian Branch away from the ball is a bad idea. I would try and get Brian Branch as close to the football as I possibly could, as much as I could. So if Amik Robertson were to leave in free agency, I would be looking to replace Branch at safety, like at strong safety, basically. And so this is, I mean, and like maybe this is a guy, not this one. It's the other guy. It's Kamari Ramsey. Here we go. Is it? No. But there are a bunch of like second round safeties, you know, that could be on the board for the Lions. Let's just take a look here. Where's the safety class? Rod Moore, Halsey, Tianeman, Ramsey. This guy used to play at Michigan. Yeah, none of them seem to be like run stuffers, unfortunately. So like take the best run stuffer of them that you have and like put it on the board. I'm just going to take the backup Taylor Decker because the line is so unbelievably in need of good players. And like, should the Lions have any kind of loyalty for Giovanni Manu at this point? I mean, I think the best thing that you could hope for Giovanni Manu is that he turns into new Dan Skipper, you know, and like he's going to have, this is year 3, right, for him. So like next season, you're going to have to make a decision whether to re-sign him. I mean, like it's just crazy. Let's pump up the speed here a little bit. You know, and so the Lions have a bunch of picks, 2, 4, 6, 7. We picked up one of these picks because of the trade we made. So like 2, 4, 6, 7. So you mean you've got 7 picks in the, you know, in between round 4 through 7. I wouldn't mind this guy, Keem Mesador from Miami. His grades have just been outstanding this season. 6'3", 280. He's got that inside-outside versatility that the Lions like. I'm not seeing anybody else here that I would rather have, you know, on the roster. So I'm going to take this guy. So now, I mean, you gotta. Will Marcus Davenport be on the team next year? Will Ahmad Hassan be ready to have any kind of meaningful snap count? Like Josh Paschal, are you still rolling with him? You know, that kind of thing. So I'm going to take Drew Aller here because it's just ridiculous that he would be on the board at this point. And if he was, I would take him. I would probably take him earlier, to be honest. Let's see. You know, and now I think you're into the, like, kind of the weeds of it a little bit. So, like, one guy that I think is, it's the other Ohio State corner, but like David Davison Igbinison, you know, 6'2", 195. Run defense good, coverage grade good. He's can play both man and zone. Hasn't given up a TD. Good passer rating against. Outside corner. Played a little bit of the slot, but like if Ennis Rakestraw is the backup nickel, like can this guy be a backup outside cornerback? You know, so like let's find out. And I'm drafting lots of players from Ohio State. It's my second Ohio State player, but like Ohio State has a ton of good players on their team. So I'd rather have good players on the Lions than not. So, and now what do you do? Now we're in round 6. The Lions haven't had great luck in round 6, so like I'll take a center prospect in Logan James, even though I don't think he'll be there. And then I was going to take that tight end that went to Tampa Bay. Do I even recognize any of these names? Oh, this is the other corner I was talking about. Jermaine Matthews from Ohio State, 5'11", 190. Every single cornerback prospect in the country is like 5'11" or 6 feet, 190. I already took a quarterback. I'll take this kid from 6 foot, 210, 215. Is Craig Reynolds going to be on the team next year? But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about drafting like running back 3, like cornerback 5, tight end 3, quarterback 2, like there aren't many places to go where they're even gonna, make the team, let alone have any kind of impact on the team. A lot of quarterbacks here. I'll take this edge rusher, Patrick Payton. He's had better stats in previous years in college than he has had this year. LSU's falling apart. They fired their coach. Quarterback's not playing well. We also have right now we have the Mr. Irrelevant pick. Not really sure where to go. Do I even recognize? I'll take this kid, Eric Gentry. He's got super long arms. So like, lots of people are like trade up or what have you. And like, I understand that, like, that seems pretty good, but like, I would move in the opposite direction. I would trade down. And look to like replace some of the backups on this team with like guys who have 4-year contracts at the very least, guys that like you see potential in or whatever, and then weed them out, or whatever. Like the Lions are getting close to the point where like they're going to have to make decisions on whether or not they're going to allow people to enter free agency off of first contract deals. And if that is the case, then like you have an opportunity to start developing comp picks, but then your depth is going to get hurt. And so like you need drafts like this to not only help your cap by flooding your roster with cheap contracts, but like I think the Lions are in a place where it's like, okay, can like Vega here, he's a day one starter at left guard. Seyerveld, like, okay, we're gonna cut Dan Skipper and this guy gets his spot. And then we've talked to Taylor Decker about mentoring this kid. Akeem Mesidor, is like this a Josh Pascal replacement? Is this a Marcus Davenport replacement? Like this is probably you're going to redshirt a lot of these guys. You're going to come in and they're going to say, all right, you need to get your body right, learn the NFL game, slow everything down. So let's do that. Drew Aller, let's put him on the bench for 2 years, 3 years and see, what you have and where Jared Goff is at some point. Igbenison, like, can you become a backup corner? Logan James, he's 300 pounds. He's not big, but can you, is he someone that can turn into a starting caliber center for you? Running back 3, probably a guy that doesn't make the roster, linebacker, whomever, these kinds of things. So like, I think the problem that the Lions had in the Eagles game was that Dan Campbell was maybe a little bit too aggressive in a game that I thought clearly, because of the weather conditions and the low scoring, indicated that it was going to be a field position game, and Dan Campbell simply never wants to play one, apparently. And they were unsuccessful at that. And then the Jared Goff could not overcome some of these other issues. So that was a problem. And then they didn't give the ball to the right running back, in my opinion. Let David Montgomery run the ball. Have Jahmyr Gibbs in the game. He can do good things in the passing game. Why is Khalif Raymond getting almost 40 snaps a game? I don't get it. So they are going to play New York in New York this coming Sunday. And I don't know what time the game is. We can take a look here just real quickly. 1:00. Oh, it's in Detroit. They're going to be in Detroit. So the Giants coming to Detroit. No Malik Neighbors. No Cam Scatterbo. Jackson Dart with however many concussions, or Jameis Winston. The only thing that the Giants can do, I think, to the Detroit Lions to threaten them is that their defensive line might be really, really good. And Detroit's offensive line is having problems right now. And when Detroit's offensive line has problems, Jared Goff has problems. And so is that going to be enough? Can the Giants create turnovers, bad field position, whatever, in order to, or like penalties, in order to put the Lions in a position where they're not able to effectively play offense? If that is the case, then I still think Detroit probably wins this game pretty handily. So I'll say 21-10. That would be nice. So anyways, I got to take off, guys. I got to go to work early today. So if you stopped into the stream at any point, really appreciate you guys. We'll be here next Thursday at noon, hopefully talking about a victory over the New York Giants. Have a great weekend. Go Lions.